It's Lindley Oz, February the 12th, 2014. And today, the article that I'm discussing with you is Have Explorers in Ecuador Found Lost City of Giants. It says that last year, a team of explorers and researchers discovered what they believe to be an ancient pyramid complex in a remote area of the Ecuador Amazonian jungle, one not known to the general public internationally or even within the country. After completing an analysis of the findings, Bruce Fenton, author and researcher, believes that this complex may be the lost city of the giants. They had discovered extremely large pyramid-type structures of approximately 80 meters square base and 80 meters height, with steeply inclined walls. The structure is made up of irregular shaped large cut stone blocks, each currently calculated to be approximately 2 tons in weight. Many hundreds of such blocks make up the walls of the building. Now there's more to this as to why they feel that it is a lost city of the giants. Wait until you hear what else they found. So it goes on to say that the top of this pyramid is flat. So they suspect that it was a platform possibly used by priests in either ceremonies or possibly sacrifices. Scattered around the area are a great many artifacts of stone and pottery. Many of these objects appear to be stone tools that could have been used either in mining or refining some kind of metal ore. The style of the buildings and the objects found all suggest an unknown pre-Inca culture, because and the article does go on to mention that the Incan people were about 5 foot tall approximately. They were little people. And this is in an Inca area, but these people that constructed this site here had to have been larger people. Further investigation is needed to establish the facts. Now, this is part 1 of this article, by the way. Now, here you go. Amongst these tools are some that would be extremely difficult for a normal-sized human being to use in any practical fashion, which has led Fenton to suspect that this is one of the legendary lost cities of the giant, well known in local Ecuadorian legends about the Amazonian area. Such places generate great fear among the members of today's jungle tribes, as they are believed to be protected either by spirit guardians or by beings not of this world. Now, if their findings are correct, that they believe this is one of the lost cities of the giants, they've got these large, humongous boulders that make up this pyramid. You've got a platform at the top believed to be used for human sacrifice, which they later give some more detail about the way the incline is at the top near where this platform sits. It's designed so that heads can roll down the side. Pretty nasty. And put that together with the locals who live there have this great fear because the area is believed to be protected by spirit guardians or beings not of this world. Now, think about the Nephilim of the Bible and the fallen angels. They were feared. They were looked at as gods. In fact, they made gods out of them, such as your statue of Pan, man's body with a goat head, over there at Mount Hermon. So there's a lot of coincidences here that cry out Nephilim. The Nephilim partook in human sacrifice. The Nephilim, as I just mentioned, were feared. They were looked at as gods or beings not of this world. And according to the size of the boulders and the tools, too large for humans to have utilized, this looks like a Nephilim finding to me. It goes on to say local legends pertain to giant humans who lived in cities that have become forgotten in the pages of history. In fact, bones of giant people have been found in caves in the area, as well as in other parts of Ecuador. This particular region was said to be a great meeting place of the tribes. In fact, tribes from as far away as Brazil traveled to this location due to beliefs about its long-standing importance and strong energetic vibration. Now, they do have reason to believe there are more pyramids other than just this one, because they identified several large hills nearby where the location they've uncovered, um, each of them equal in size to the pyramid. It is possible that each of these hills is a pyramid yet to be uncovered. This would make for a very significant size city and pyramid complex. Now, this article is part 2, okay? Because there's some more things that happen, and photos were released, which I have that page open right here. We'll go look at it in a minute. But it says, during the investigation, soil was cleared from the side of a large hill to reveal what appeared to be cut and dressed stone blocks. Their surface is smooth and barely aged as a result of a protective layer of earth covering them. On another side of the pyramid structure, the wall is already exposed, revealing stones which are weathered and eroded compared to those still covered in soil. This supports the hypothesis that, if man-made, it is a truly ancient site, much older than others already known in Ecuador. Note they said if man-made. Fenton has hypothesized that an earthquake or tropical rainstorm induced a landslide that caused the soil and plants of one wall to come sliding down. The blocks range in shape and size across the pyramid wall. It appears highly chaotic in style, and if man-made, would have posed interesting construction problems. So here you go with construction problems. If a man made this, there's some problems to do with how they could have possibly constructed it. So it would have posed interesting construction problems for the engineers and builders of the time it was built. The stonework resembles that seen at other ancient sites in Peru. For example, the fort at Sacsayhuaman, which, although attributed to the Inca, is actually claimed by local Indians to have been built by an ancient people who had the ability to soften the rocks with a plant-derived material. Now here's an interesting part. Between the blocks, there is a hard bonding substance like cement or concrete. It is generally held that the Inca did not use mortar, but rather made blocks that would fit perfectly together. So these can't be Incas. They've given us several reasons why. The large tools, the Incas were short, now this binding substance. Yet in this case, there appears to be a bonding material remaining between some of the large cut stone blocks. However, a closer look reveals the possibility that it could also be some kind of vitrified material. Evidence for other examples of vitrified stone has been seen elsewhere at ancient sites in Latin America. Now let's look what this article says about this vitrified material. Let me move this over here. It says, yet in this case we see what certainly appears to be a bonding material remaining between some of the large cut stone blocks. A closer look leaves us scratching our heads, as it now seems to perhaps that we are looking not at cement, but some kind of vitrified material. Was the stone itself melted by some advanced technology, whether heat-inducing or chemical? Though many blocks seem free of this substance, we can again attribute that to a very long period of rainfall. So some of the blocks are missing this substance, but there's been very long periods of rainfall that would have eroded over time some of that substance away. It says the substance looks tough, and I imagine a great deal of time passed before it was eroded away. Evidence for other examples of vitrified stone has been seen elsewhere at ancient sites in Latin America. So now we've got a substance that cannot be identified, and they say that it was some vitrified material, and they question, was the stone itself melted by some advanced technology, whether heat-inducing or chemical? We know that the fallen angels and the Nephilim people, or we can't call them people, beings, had profound technology. In fact, the fallen angels taught humanity technology because they were very, very smart and they knew highly technological things that even today our most highly technologically advanced people cannot come close to. It goes on to say, as we just touched on in the other article, the investigators of the site also found what appear to be very large tools, which would have been extremely difficult for a normal-sized human being to use, which led Fenton to suspect that this is one of the legendary lost cities of the giants well known in local Ecuadorian legends about the Amazonian area. Now it gives us a little bit more detail of the tools. It says the tools appear to be extremely oversized hammers, or at least the stone hammerheads. Assuming these were attached to hardwood handles, they would be of both incredible size and weight, making their use as tools impractical for a typical Incan or indigenous Indian, who were generally very slightly built people with an average height of around 5 feet. And it says there's a video from Fenton's site that you can view the footage of, and I'll post that video on the article. Now, back to this page here, and I have trouble staring at white or pale lettering on dark backgrounds. It kills my eyes. Like when I go to look at something else, I see like flashes and stuff. I wish they would do it differently, but they don't. So let's see. I'm trying to figure out where we were, where it talks about a couple things that I wanted to bring to your attention. Okay, here we go. Here a gentleman is holding one of the tools. This is just a hammer. Now you can see it's taking him, look how little his hands are in comparison to this hammer. And think of how we hold a hammer. That would have been very difficult for a human being to use. It says here that none of what we have already discussed is really good evidence for my stating in places that this is a lost pyramid city of giant people. Yes, there are legends in the area of giants, and at other sites in Ecuador remains or artifacts have been found that do seem to prove a presence of incredibly large people. What really strongly points towards this habitation having housed the same race of giants is the presence of extremely oversized hammers, or at least the stone hammerheads. Assuming these were attached to the hardwood handles, they would be of both incredible size and weight, making their use as tools impractical for a typical Inca or indigenous Indian, these being generally slightly built people of around 5 foot or so, which we just said. Who on earth would make a hammer like this as a real tool? Remember also that any work would be done in the incredible heat and humidity of the Amazon jungle. How long could anyone swing such a thing before collapsing from heat exhaustion? I have been unable to match this object to anything known in Inca archaeology, and in fact there is simply nothing like it in the Ecuadorian Museum of Cultural History located in Quito that would suggest any of the known civilization of this region. There is some reason to wonder if this site has any link to the Father Crespi collection named for the keeper of these objects. The location from which these objects came was said by the local Shuar tribe to be a cave system known as the Teos Caves, which contain not only these relics and precious metals, but also supposedly a hall of records made up of engraved gold sheets called the Metal Library. Now here's some of the pictures. This is where they are unearthing the pyramid, so you can see it better. He's actually using this object here in order to cut away at the dirt that's over it. Now here is what they're unearthing. You can see the large boulder type stones. Another picture a little bit closer of the stones. And there's a real close-up of the stones. And I think what they're trying to show here is the mortar, that strange stuff that they're wondering would have had to have been melted using some highly technological system. Yes, the strange mortar between the stones, which they believe would have had to have been created with some advanced technology. Let's look at a close-up of this hammer here. See how large that is. I mean, imagine just swinging that hammer, you know, for hours like they discussed. And this isn't the only tool they found. In the other article, it did state tools. I apologize. This Screen-O-Matic, the little square that surrounds the area that I'm discussing, you have to drag it over and click on it just so in order to do that. So back to what we were talking about here, about the giants. With everything they've mentioned, to me it sounds like the Nephilim. You know, the size of the tools, as we discussed, the pyramid, the possibility that there was some sacrifice going on, the technology, the fact that this is an area that could not have been Incan because it had to be pre-Incan because the Incas were very little people. So there's a few things here to ponder, and I'm interested to see what else they'll come up with. These things take months and months sometimes years to really uncover everything. It's a lot of hard work. And just another little tidbit in case you missed my article on this. This one was titled Initial DNA Analysis of Paracas Elongated Skull Released with Incredible Results. And they were saying that these could not have been human. Let me go down and find it for you so you can see. It said it had mtDNA, mitochondrial DNA, with mutations unknown in any human, or excuse me, in any human, primate, or animal known so far. But a few fragments I was able to sequence from this sample indicate that if these mutations will hold, we are dealing with a new human-like creature very distant from Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, and Denisovans. So once again, you know, we've got all sorts of things coming out that to me and to many people who study this subject verify what the Bible says about the presence of giants, the presence of Nephilim, fallen angels. It's really not that hard to see. Of course, people like to make it difficult because anything that substantiates something in the Bible, of course, people have to pick apart and find something wrong with it and say, oh, it's not true, it can't be true. That's just the way things work. But archaeologists are finding more and more evidence, just in the past few years, more than ever, of what the Bible refers to as Nephilim, fallen angels, and so forth. So the more information I keep finding on this subject, I will keep posting on so I can show people that the Bible is correct, the Bible is true, the Nephilim did exist. It was not some fairy tale. We're seeing their presence, as I just mentioned, more and more in archaeological findings around the world. Thank you, and I hope you have a great day. I appreciate you listening.